All right, everybody, welcome back to another riveting episode of the Strip Show, Short Term Rental Investor Podcast Show. I'm here with Cody Zucker. Cody is from the Jersey Shore area. He is a savvy STR agent in that exclusive market on the coast. So if you're looking for an East Coast beach market, he is your man. Cody, welcome.
Justin, thank you so much for having me. Love the acronym. Absolutely love it. Um,
Almost a 13-year-old boy stuck in my head, man. I don't know what to say. At first, this thing was named the Short Term Rental Investor Show, and I was like, wait, if I add a P to this, it becomes strip,
you'll live out your
and
dream, your
we
14-year-old
can
dream.
and we can have a lot of fun with this. Like I can do so much. We can strip it down. We can, and
Yeah, the
yeah,
puns. Yeah.
all the puns. My wife's like, "You are a child." I'm like, "Well, hey."
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited. Yeah, looking forward to talking shop and yeah, just talking all things STR.
How's things been going for you getting set up?
At Savvy, it's been going great. Meeting a lot of new people, and spending a lot of time talking to investors. Really, getting like a thorough pulse on my market. So that's been really good. And then for STRs, we brought on some new clients at the end of last year, after last season. So we took them through the winter, got them all set up. And then this summer, we've been ripping and rolling with them, full time, kind of post launch and
And
doing some really good numbers. Mhm.
you and I know each other well, but for those that don't know you, when you say you took on new clients,
Yeah, sure. So a little bit about me. So yeah, my name is Cody Zucker. I'm a real estate investor, co-host, agent, primarily at the Jersey Shore. I've been in real estate since back in about 2018, 2019. Bit was a big Bigger Pockets listener. That's how I kind of got into real estate and found it while I was
oh,
working my
dude,
job as a CPA. Worked at a big four accounting firm, did that. And then while I was there, I, kind of got curious about building wealth, kind of learning how to make money, outside of trading time for money, rich dad, poor dad, all that good stuff. And then it was just a journey, man. So my first house was a duplex a couple blocks from the beach. I got really lucky that I got it. Long story short, that's kind of how I got into short-term rentals. Was it was customary in the beach market to do summer, winter, and Airbnb, even in, let's say, 2019, was still relatively new. So at that time, I mean, I was one of the first people doing it in my market. And, it was a bit of trial and error the first year. You kind of figure stuff out. But then after that, I was like, hey, the money's great. And I had done like bartending and waiting tables like in college. So, like, hospitality in general wasn't like super new to me. So it just kind of felt like a good fit. And yeah, so from there, went on, started buying more, ended up doing some other things in real estate as well. And then ultimately just started to also expand, management as well to get some scale with the portfolio. And yeah, so now we're managing, some units at the Jersey Shore. I also manage for some of some folks that are in Bill Fate's mastermind as well. So, because I'm a big advocate of education and building your network. And yeah, now we're doing the savvy thing as well, at the Jersey Shore, and it's looking good.
so I was just talking with Alicia about the mastermind, and I don't know if her and her husband are going to join, but they attended his conference for the first time, and I told her, and I think you could probably agree with this. I'm like, look, since joining, and it's not Bill. Bill is special. I love Bill. I really do.
Yeah, okay.
Um, but for a second, let's just say, push Bill to the side. The powerful thing about that is being in the room with other people and the connections, the network, the friendships. That's what really expands you. And everyone, even if you think you have nothing to offer, you have so much to offer and you just don't even realize it.
Yeah, I think networking and education. I mean, yeah, like you nailed it. The education piece is important because you take Bill's Inner Circle as an example. Even if you came in, like I had already been hosting and investing for a number of years at that point, there were plenty of things that I learned, going through that, or maybe different ways you can look at things because perspective is also important. But what I've found most beneficial is the relationships, the people that I've met. My network has grown, a lot. And then even now, when you and I went to Rock the Smokies, because I know you and I spent a lot of time there, I just had, you have so much fun being around these people because over time, as long as you're consistent and you stay in the game, you really get to know people. And, I don't know. So, yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think that probably is the most invaluable aspect of education is the network.
Yeah, I agree completely. And I think, that's something you said is so powerful that a lot of us struggle with is the consistency aspect. I'm not perfect with that at all. That's honestly the number one I think key to success in this life is just being consistent. Because for me, what I have come to realize when I reflect back, and maybe you do as well, you know, is if you were to just quit tomorrow and give up, you would
Mm,
never have reached this point. I mean, think about it. You applied to go to college, you decided on a major, you had tests. I'm sure to be a CPA is not just graduating, you have to pass some sort of a licensing exam, right?
yeah. Yeah.
You have to study for that exam. If you're like, screw this is too hard, I quit, and you give up, you would never see the success. It's the same thing with real estate.
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, I think people probably forget a lot that in life, there's probably a lot of small moments, like pit stops, where, you get frustrated or upset about how something's going for you. And you probably do have those vent sessions where you're like, man, I really don't want to do this, or man, this sucks, or whatever. But that's a great point. And I definitely have had many points like that where whether it be college, CPA was for, after college, I had to study and sit over 6 months for four different exams. And it was hard, man. It was a full time job to study for them. So, yeah, I mean, there were a lot of times I was frustrated in that. Same thing, even the first real estate deal I bought was a huge headache and a nightmare. But ultimately, to your point about consistency, I could have gave up multiple times in that deal. That deal alone is still one of my best performing properties. It was totally life changing for me now, 6, 7 years later, totally changed it for me. And, but there were a lot of opportunities to give up. And so it doesn't mean we can't reflect on things, grow and learn. So sometimes we maybe don't buy the best property or we're not doing things the best way. But that doesn't mean we have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. So, it's okay to just kind of like, yeah.
We're gonna call you Cody Zucker, the wise man of the Jersey Shore. That was great. Seriously.
Oh, thanks,
Look,
buddy.
I learned so much from Avery's spiel on "Don't be a weenie" at Rock the Smokies.
Yeah.
I sold my first property and I regret it. Something horrible, man. I really
Yeah.
do. Um, we were having issues with it, and it was silly, stupid reasons. We're like, oh, let's take this money and reinvest it into another property. And I just wish I would have maybe done like, you know, a HELOC against it or a cash out refi or something and kept it.
Yeah.
Um, you just can't buy deals like that no more. We got so lucky with that first buy. And I don't know about you, but my first purchase, there was nobody like savvy around at the time in my market. And if there was, I definitely didn't know about them because I just this was all self-taught, self-learned. Like, I mean, how'd you come into all this?
So, I mean, I mean, listen, I don't think anybody is always going to buy the best deal. Like that whole, like every property, whether it's a short term rental, long term rental, whatever your strategy is, if you do it long enough, you're going to get one that's not going to go exactly as you penciled. And there's going to be things that you can't see. So I don't think anybody should feel bad if they don't have a perfect track record buying real
Right.
estate. Um, as far as getting into it, so like for Jersey, there absolutely was nothing like a Savvy at that. I mean, this is, back in the 2010s, so there was nothing like that. Even today, I think that's one of the biggest opportunities that I've found with Savvy is that I'm able to bring, kind of this type of national level education and kind of understanding to a market that is really needs it. So, but I mean, like I said, you do the best with the knowledge you have at that time. So that's what you and your wife did, right? You did the best you could. And then as you learn, right, there's certain things you can fix with properties, and then there's things that you can't fix, right? So, you do your best. And then if you ultimately are applying everything you know today and it's still not working for you, if you have to let it go, then you sell it. And if you can make it work and it does enough, then you keep it. That's
Yeah.
kind of the way I look at it.
course. No, I think that's solid, you know, advice. And also to that, I think I'd probably add, you know, before you decide to get rid of it, can you reevaluate and say what can I have done differently? If the location is there,
Right.
then you got a chance, you got a shot, you know. But if the location's the one thing killing you, that's the only, you know, dependent variable you can't change.
Well, I mean, listen, there's a lot of different ways that you can, I mean, if we don't have to get too into the weeds, but right, there's a lot of different ways that you, like, when you talk about properties that were purchased with lower interest, loans, right, and that have lower basis, the bar to get over is much lower than if you buy something today at 6.5, 7%, right? Like it's
Right.
just the math is just much easier to overcome. So I think if you look at it from a revenue management perspective, truly, there are even ways that you can utilize. You can mark up your rates and things like price labs. You can then, leverage those discounts on places like Verbo and Airbnb, last minute
Right.
discounts, and still make a great margin because I have a property in the Smokies. I bought, back in 21 there. I've self managed remotely for, I don't know, whatever, 4 or 5 years now. And, even with that property, my basis is so low on it, even if it's not an absolute killer, again, that monthly nut to cover is still there. I'm still getting principal pay down. I'm still getting appreciation, even if it's not a huge amount of appreciation. So, yeah, I think you have a lot of options with the older properties. Again, whether it's revenue management, redesigning it, adding new amenities to refresh it, there's a lot there. So I think it helps to also talk to somebody and get somebody else's perspective. Like before you're thinking about selling, instead of even just talking to an agent, I would reach out to folks in some of these short-term rental groups, you know,
Do you have
and
a
get their
Facebook group in mind?
well, there are Airbnb tips and tricks is a good one.
That is a good
Bill's
one.
group, Bill's short term rental wealth is obviously good, and there's a number of other ones. So,
Yeah, I really like that Airbnb tips and tricks page. It's got
oh, you like
like
that
over
one?
2,000 people. Yeah, I mean, look, there's a ton of people in it. The conversations in there are great. I've tried to start my own Facebook pages, and all I get is just people spamming it. I've got a couple for Gulf Shores, and it's just people like myself that just
No
so
shame.
no shame. Just be like, hey, stay here, book here,
Yeah.
stay here. Here's a great place for sale. No, man, I just and so I'm really trying to change a lot of that and go with a lot more of the education and trying to give more than I'm trying to take, and I hope that's helping.
Yeah, man. I mean, I just want to give you a shout out. Honestly, like I've seen what you've been doing on social media, and you're very, you were talking about consistency earlier, and like, dude, you are consistent. I mean, you're every day I see you working hard, and I think a lot of people just need to remember that, you're not necessarily going to get the payoff today. You might not even get it in a couple weeks. You might not get it in a couple months. But if you really just show up every single day, right, you're working hard and you're doing your best. I mean, good things will happen. So just want to give you a shout out. I really do think you've been doing pretty good.
Thank you. What about you? What have you been working on over there in the Jersey Shore?
So, like I said, we're just really been looking at we've been looking at some deals across all of the different counties. So, for those that aren't familiar, when we say the Jersey Shore, there's a number of counties on the East Coast or the east side of New Jersey that I cover. So, the most north county would be Monmouth. Under that is Ocean. Then you have Atlantic, and then we have the bottom one is Cape May. And so within those counties, there's a number of different shore towns that are available for investors to kind of take a look at and operate in. A big caveat, though, or a big thing I would bring up is, each of them really does have their own vibe and flavor. So it's a great market in that even though the price point is high, you have a lot of different options to pick something that really, vibes with you or, really resonates with you.
Yeah.
What I like to recommend to clients or prospective clients that are coming in is if you vacationed at one of the markets, that's always a good thing. So for Northeasterners, a lot of it is like legacy vacations, similar to other places in the country. Families go there every summer or every other summer for many years. So that's always a great market to start in or town. And yeah, from there, we can see kind of, type of capital you're working with, what your investment goals are, and, kind of tweak and see what makes sense.
I feel like you're kind of a triple threat as an agent, and I'm not. You know, this is interesting to me, and I didn't even think about this until right now because I forget that. you were a CPA before all of this. Um, with me being in the medical field and being a nurse anesthetist, nurse anesthesiologist, um, that doesn't come to life unless someone takes a nasty trip and fall, chokes, or stops breathing while we're touring properties. Now, obviously, our Leslie being into design and Leslie being into some co-hosting activities, and us and our own ownership and things of that, like that really reflects in underwriting the pro formas and helping pitch things and just being the force, the person of interest in your market. But you have all of that wrapped up in yourself, and you're a CPA, which is an incredible skill set that you're able. And I know, I'm sure there's legal limitations to what you can really offer and what you can really do, but how does that show up in how you really help and guide clients?
I appreciate you bringing that up. Well, I mean, obviously, it's never tax advice. That's not what I'm doing. But no, I mean, I think it shows up in a lot of different things. I mean, when I was doing client service, I mean, that's where I started. Was like I said, a big accounting firm, so I had lots of clients. My clients were hedge funds and private equity funds. I was in asset management, financial services. I loved having clients, so I think that alone, just all that experience of speaking with CFOs and controllers a lot, and kind of that whole thing, I try to bring that to the client service that I do as an agent, even as well with my co-hosting clients. As far as the analytical side, I mean, obviously, I'm a big spreadsheet guy. So, I'm going to take the data and I'm going to, put it in a spreadsheet. I'm going to run models and do all that type of stuff. And I think I'm obviously, I have a lot of experience in that area. Um, but, I like to also think, with being an investor myself, I really try to apply that same mindset for my clients truly. So if I'm looking at something, I'm thinking, okay, if I was in their shoes with their budget, their capital, their goals, what really makes sense for them, and how can I get them, the best deal that fits their goals? Because I'm sure you see this all the time. Every investor's goals are not the same. Every investor's budget is not the same. Even like just again, what they're looking to get out of the investment is just can be totally different, even with the same budget. So, I mean, being a good agent is really serving your client and making sure that you are trying to get something that fits really what they are looking for.
I think sometimes, two things in that. I think one, keeping your own personal bias out of this. I have had moments where I have sold a house to a client or a condo. Really, I like selling condos and Gulf Shores, but I've sold them a condo, and I'm like, man, I would never, buy this. And
Right.
they're like, look, man, this is going to make $500 a month. This is killer. And you're like, I would never touch this with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Or quite the inverse. You show them something that you're like, yeah, the location's off, but like, man, it matches what they're really after. And
Yeah.
you're like, once again, like, I don't know. I just, okay, fine. What do you think of this? And they're like, perfect. I want it. And the other thing to the whole other side of that is, just trying to help navigate and identify what those desires are, because sometimes they don't even know yet. That's the really interesting thing. There's a lot of
Yeah,
people
and
that,
that's something I think I've been really diving deeper into is the follow-up questions, clarifying questions with the clients and saying, like say for example, if you're talking to somebody and say, okay, what are you looking for? And they're like, I'm looking for cash flow. And I respect that,
of
if
course.
you are, yeah, I mean, obviously you don't want to be break even or losing money on your investment, but it's like, okay, well then you kind of ask a follow-up question. Well, okay, what does cash flow mean? Are you looking for a specific cash on cash return amount? Are you looking for a certain amount per door? For example, we have, there's some multifamily here that's a lot of, I would say that's part of my specialty is the units I bought were, duplexes and things like that. So are you looking for a per door cash flow amount? Are you looking for just a random number? You're like, hey, I want to make 2,000 a month in my pocket, right? But a lot of times, if you ask folks that, and it's okay if they don't know, but they don't, they hadn't really thought through it. So I think for anyone listening that wants to get into this, you don't have to have all the answers, but I do think some of these questions you should write down, whether it's you and your spouse or if you're solo, and really just take that extra step or two after answering the question and say, can I go a little deeper here to make sure I really understand what I'm looking for? Because once the deals start coming and you have stuff in front of you, you're going to look at stuff, you're making offers, you really want to have all that stuff hammered out before you get to that point.
No, I agree. And I think to that point as well is, it's trying to dig into the follow up. And I think, Bill hammers this point home all the time is what's your why? And not just what's your why. Like I don't want the bullshit surface. I want to make cash flow. Well, how much? How much per month? How much per door? How much do you actually need? Because I think, and I'm guilty of this. I just told Alicia this. Leslie and I haven't updated our why in probably a couple years, you
Hmm.
know, and this is something we should probably be doing quarterly or monthly
Yeah.
because life changes so quickly and you have to change and pivot with it. And what I wanted 5, 10 years ago is not what I want today. And who I was 5, 10 years ago is not what I am now. And I think that's such a hard thing to try to really dive into. And you really have to sit down and just be in the quiet with yourself in the deep recesses of your brain and be like, well, what do I really want? And I think that's hard for people. And, if someone told me they want cash flow, you know what I'd be thinking? We're looking for 1,500 to 3 grand a month cash flow. But I've
Hmm.
had surprisingly a few people, it's like, no, I'm just looking for a few $100 a month. Oh, okay. They're like, yeah, that's it.
Right. I mean, I think that the why thing is really important. I think, I've done the life plan exercise and I've, read the book, The Vivid Vision. That was like a big Brandon Turner book that was
Let's
recommended, the
talk about it.
author.
I've never heard about this one, and I love books. And
So the Vivid Vision, essentially what it boils down to is it was more really more focused from an entrepreneurial standpoint. So like imagining your company, but in the context I'm talking about it, it was really suggested for your life. And what it really means is to essentially via dreaming is to really paint a vivid picture of your life of what you want. So if you compare it to like Bill's life plan, right, he'll say go into like that excruciating level of detail, be very, very specific about what you want. Because as you imagine and you get very, very specific, right, a vivid dream, you can see it, you can taste it, you can touch it. And because of that, it makes decision making a lot easier when things come up because you'll have really thought through what you want. And so it'll be much simpler to see if something aligns with the dream that you have, with the vision of where you want to go. So yeah.
I might have to give that a read, man. Yeah, I'm just sitting here actively thinking about. Um, this is my current stack of books, and I've
You
got
got
one or
there.
two more
Yeah.
over here, and then I have a Kindle that I need to read too. And I have a real problem, you see, because I like to go shop at Barnes and Nobles, or there's a resale shop here, but
Yeah.
then I realize that like I don't want to cart this. These are business books, but like the pleasure books I like to read, they're like 700 pages to 1,000, and you know, I don't want to carry that giant thing around, so I'll go download it on my Kindle,
Yeah.
and and double pay for the book. It's a real problem.
Yeah. What do
Um,
you read for fun? What do you read?
oh gosh, I'm gonna embarrass myself. No shame. Here we go.
Yeah.
So I like sci-fi slash romantasy would probably be the category. So, uh, I just finished reading the Zodiac Academy series. I've read Fourth Wing, A Court of Thorns and Roses. Basically, think about dragons, vampires, witches, werewolves, some
Okay.
love category, and
Twilight.
Twilight. I asked Claude to roast me for a post
Yeah.
that I made on Facebook. And it's like, well, you might actually be able to get some shit done if you could stop worrying about does the dragon princess, get connected to the Fey King or whatever. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, fair enough. And so Leslie, after I finished this, 'cause it was a 10 book series, and I started
Yeah.
the series probably a few months back, um, maybe first of the year ish, and 10 books. The books probably average 1,000 pages a piece, and I just finished
Jeez.
the last of the series.
Yeah.
Um, and Leslie's like, okay, well now it's time to start on some of your like business books that are just you just order new books all the time and they show up at the house. So like I've got some important ones here, like short term rentals, which is Avery's follow up book.
Hmm.
I got Bill's book, Two Extra Steps. I got $1 Million Host by Julie George. I got Joe's book, Hospitable Host, which I did read his excerpt, which was fabulous.
Nice.
A couple like business books, like from Kevin Ward, the Book of Yes, Yes and More Success. I think this one's gonna be really powerful for the audience. Called Jab 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 Right Hook by Gary Vaynerchuk.
Okay.
It's really about Bill told me to pick this one up, how to sell your story in a noisy social world. But basically, it's just more about how to post material to social media to be successful and try not to overload, overwhelm, and give more than you take. And then I got Bill's super property book. This one has been really powerful for me, called Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell.
I love
I
that
got a
book.
got a
Yeah.
couple bigger pockets books, The Science of Scaling, uh, a million, the million real estate agent or whatever. And
Love David's book.
I got partway through it, and I have ADHD, so I jump around a lot.
Yeah, I'm a big starter of books. I mean, I try to finish them, but sometimes the ADHD does get the best of me as well. Buy Back Your Time. I actually read that book within the last year. That book was super. That's a great book. For anybody who hasn't read it, I would strongly recommend it. I think it helps to frame, how you should look at your day, what you're spending your time on, whether that's, essentially just maximizing the amount of time, the high dollar per hour tasks, right? And then cutting out, what doesn't matter. And it's even helped me with my co-hosting business and hiring VAs, specifically with really thinking about breaking business down into like kind of those four categories of, you have leadership at the top, then you have sales and marketing. That's how much money and how the money comes in. You have the delivery or fulfillment of your service or product, and then at the very bottom you have, the awful admin stuff. And just thinking about when you're starting is really trying to start from the bottom up and say, hey, I got to get rid of this, anything admin, clear it. And that should be the first things you're given your, VA. After that, you go to supply and, operations, right? Fulfillment. And then obviously, like I said, you go through the other things as well. So I love that book. That really helped me a lot when hiring, and then with just kind of figuring out like what to give the VA to do, as opposed to, because a lot of folks want to jump to like, hey, like go do my whole sales and market. Like they really are just want to give that away. And it's like, that's the lifeblood of your business. Like you should hold on to that with care. But,
Yeah.
scheduling meetings and doing all this other stuff, the admin and fulfillment is like, get rid of it.
No, I agree, and I started reading it, and then I made a post in our Slack thread today where I was like, look, I've been having a slow past couple of weeks, and just kids back in school and a little more extra time than I'm used to on my hands, and what am I going to do with it? And so I really sat with those quiet moments and put pen to paper and developed kind of a new plan for myself, and even wrote out. So I stopped where I was at in reading, because I'll be honest, I'm not actually opening any of these pages. I'm reading them on my Kindle. Surprise, surprise. Um, but um, in what order to read, when to read them, and I think that's helped too. Like I am doing Bill Faith's Two Extra Steps. Very surprised with how impactful it's been so far for me, anyways. Really trying to help you identify who's your avatar. Once again, it's Bill Faith to the extreme, like drilling down, who are you trying to serve, and why are we doing this, what we're doing. And there's some great points in there. And then I'm reading this book that Brandon Thompson recommended to me called Ninja Selling, which once again
Mhm.
I think I was the whole goal of this is to help you, and at some point it feels kind of sleazy. Maybe it's just my personal whatever about it, because yes, I am selling you. This is a transaction. Yes, I'm making fee for service off of this for you, but I really care about you as a person. I really want to see you succeed. And this is not just a load of shit. I
Right.
want you to be successful in your investment. Um, but in order to really do that, I have to be able to consider more of what you need and really listen to you and drill down into your why and everything that you already said and just the clarifying follow-ups. And I think sometimes that's just the hard thing because I think we all have different personalities, and for me, I'm a little more black and white with certain things.
Yeah.
um, and so if you're like, I want cash flow, then my personal bias kicks in and I'm like, all right, we're looking for $1,000 a month. Cool, got it. Minimum. And that may not be what you're after.
I think you really touched on a good point, which is, a lot of times I understand like sales in general, right? Because this is what this is, sales. Um, there's like this taboo with it where you feel like if you push it all, like it feels like dirty because you're not
Yeah.
trying to push somebody's boundaries. But at the same time, it's like, honestly, it's even like if you go to the doctor's office, right? Like, you get the doctor asks you questions, you give them information, you trust that the doctor knows something about health, right? Like, or whatever you're specifically going there, so they may know things that you don't even know that you know. And obviously investment, like short-term rentals, it's not rocket science, right? Like, it is an understandable thing. But through owning your own short-term rentals, selling them, investing, running them, there's a lot of things that you and I have learned through doing it, right, that people really may not be aware of. And we've also seen the investments operate over time, different markets, different seasons. So there is, even if you go to Price Labs or AirDNA and you look up data, or if you go on listings and you see what they look like, there's a level of nuance I think that people don't realize. And so, that's where our experience comes from. So when we're pushing on certain things, it may not necessarily be that you're trying to hard sell. You're just like, hey, like, this is something you may not have considered. Or from my experience, blah, blah, blah. This is my point of view. And again, it's not meant to sell or persuade. It's just, this is really what I think, and I just want to make sure that you're not missing this because maybe you're not seeing it this way. So,
Yeah, I think that's super important. And I even find myself saying that sometimes to a client where I'm like, look, I understand, like I should be trying to sell you, but I don't think this is a good idea for you. Or I don't think this property is right for you because of X, Y, or Z. Tell me if I'm wrong.
yeah,
Or even like, hey, here's a cheaper property. Like, isn't my goal to upsell you? And here I am taking you the opposite way. Like, you know, it's more for me, a lot of this is more about the customer relationship
yeah,
than it is about just the back end. Like, um, we've got our I'm trying to think how I can say this. You and I have other revenue streams,
right,
and if I don't sell you this property, I want you to know that like my family is still going to eat, the lights are
right,
going to stay on, and life is going to move on. So I want you to know that like I'm not just here to get the commission. I genuinely want you to be successful. I think success is defined by so many different things, but I'm curious about the Jersey Shore market. One, I've never been out there. Um, I've only seen it on TV. Whether it's in Practical Jokers or the TV show on MTV, Jersey Shore.
mm,
Um, what does a winning property out there look like, and what does something like that go for, and what can I relatively expect to kind of gross off of a property like that?
sure. So, again, it's going to go back to which county you're in. But I mean, price points can be anywhere from down in the, let's just say, 300,000, 400,000, which is most likely going to be a condo type play, and that's going to
Okay.
be down in the southern part of the state. And then as you move more north, into Ocean and Monmouth counties, the price points will go up, more significantly. You're going to go more for your single family or small multifamily. And then there's obviously the big houses, right? You're talking, 5, 6, 7 plus bedrooms, and those are going to be at a much higher price point. I would say the way to get into them, I think if folks You have to look at the Jersey Shore as a total return market. And what I mean by that is, I agree with what you're saying as well. This tunes into really being upfront and honest with your clients. So when I'm talking to my clients, I'm telling them, hey, if you're looking for a absolutely pure monster cash flow market, like if that is the most important thing to you, then I don't think my market's for you. It's not to say that they don't cash flow, but it's that in New Jersey at the shore we have very strong appreciation. And again, the asset values are quite a bit higher up here in the Northeast. So each year that you're holding that asset, you are actually making a very nice return on those asset values with good cash flow, principal pay down, and then as well, you still have the cost seg and bonus depreciation, which I try to remind folks if you are employing that strategy or deploying that strategy, then you also have the opportunity to increase your after tax cash on cash return. So that's another way is that, if you're getting a big refund on that purchase, with the amount of capital left in the deal, the cash on cash can be higher. Specific plays, I mean, like I said, there's the condo, the single family house, etc. What I like to suggest to investors is where we can find that burr or that value add deal where we can find a fixer upper, go in, whether it's increase, bed bath count, add value, obviously install amenities, whether it's a pool. Some things obviously we'd like if we're going to spend capex, we'd like it to increase the value, the after repair value. Obviously, we know some amenities don't do that, right? They're not going to add value to the resale value. Um, but I think that's a good way is to go in, buy a fixer upper, force appreciation. And then from there, you can always, cash out refi later, to kind of, make the numbers work a little more. But yeah, that's what I'm seeing right now. I think there's a lot of opportunity, honestly. But I do think folks are going to need, maybe a little bit of a bigger budget than compared to some of the other markets.
Okay. And seasonality out there at the Jersey Shore. I mean, down here in the South, if you got the right amenities, even though Gulf Shores isn't like far South Florida, um, people still come November to February. It's just 50s, 60s, maybe 40s to 60s. It gets cold. What about out there? What's seasonality like?
It's a great question. I hate to defer back to the county piece, but I mean it's the biggest kind of differentiator between is even though it's a small state and they're all coastal, depending on what type of activity exists in the county is going to really drive what you're going to see in the winter. I'll give you an example. So Monmouth County, which is the most northern county in the stack, it has far more year-round residents, and so because of that, it and a lot of the towns like in Asbury Park, a Belmar, they have year-round people, and there's a lot of draws there where people are coming into the area for a number of different reasons.
Hmm.
So they definitely don't feel like that traditional ghost town beach market in the winter because, like I said, for a myriad of reasons, people are still going there. You're not going to
Right.
be getting July and August rates on the nights that you're selling. So folks should plan to, have a lower nightly rate, but that doesn't mean you can't have some occupancy during those periods of time. If you go far, far south into like the Atlantic and Cape May County, you probably will have a slower winter, right? But that doesn't mean you're not going to have opportunities for bookings for holidays, as well as the occasional person who's just trying to get away from the Philadelphia area, New York City, who just want to be by the water, even if it's cold. We still see a lot of that as well. So I wouldn't say you're going to have zero activity. Obviously, you will have a concentration of that April May timeline start into September October. I call it local summer, right, where it kind of extends out. Tourism drops a little bit, after kids go back to school, but people are still visiting, enjoying the nice weather before kind of winter and fall really start to come in.
Very nice. I like that. Yeah, we kind of got some very similar things. For us, we are a ghost town in the winter, which I personally love. Like my favorite time to come down is February. Things are
Mhm.
about to open back up because it's bananas here in the summertime. Like I mean, I live a few hours north of my market, much like
Mhm.
Joe does for Panama City Beach. So
Yeah.
which is fine because I have showing agents down there that help out with certain things and. Um, most people are coming in from out of state, so they have to pre-plan their trip in. And if I can't be there, I still there's a way to make it work, and I can meet you there anyways. But um, in February, that energy is growing and growing, and the market's about ready to pop off, but yet the tourists haven't reappeared yet, so it's kind of nice.
It's nice, man.
Um,
Love it.
so talk to me a little bit about you know um, you know your next purchase. Are you looking for anything for yourself personally?
Yeah, it's funny you said that. I actually made an offer yesterday on a
Ooh,
two family that is a few blocks from where I live. So I live in Ocean Grove. I live in Monmouth County, next to Asbury Park, Bradley Beach, Belmar. Um, and yeah, so I mean, I'm still looking, man. I'm also very much open to Cape May right now, Cape May County. I think there's a lot of opportunities there. So if I was if I was in Monmouth County right now, I'm looking multifamily. Again, duplexes, triplexes, quads. And if I'm down in Cape May County, I'm definitely looking for that single family, super property, adding a pool, that type of thing. So I would say that I am hunting right now. Genuinely, the clients come first. So if I see a deal and it fits whatever one of my clients is looking for, I'm going to let them take a look at it. And if they want to crack, we'll go with them first. But if folks, aren't looking at whatever I'm looking at, they're not interested, then yeah, man, I'm gonna,
free game.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I Leslie sent me a property. We're looking to make a purchase for some tax purposes at the end of the
Yeah,
year, and I sold it. I sold it to somebody else, and she's like, "Would you?" I think this is the second time. She's like, "Would you stop selling properties I sent you?" I'm
happy
like,
life, happy
"Well,
wife, dude. Come
like
on,
hey, there will be another deal, man. There'll be another deal out there. There'll be another deal." So, is
you're
the
working
game
real
plan to?
hard.
I know. Is there a game plan to turn this place if you get it into a super property?
For this one, I actually, well, yes, but maybe not in the traditional way that we think about super properties. Where, like, when I think of super property, I really do think like a bigger space. A lot of the multifamilies here are going to be smaller units. But as an example, one side of the reason why I specifically like this one, but it proves what we talk about when we say designing a property and operating it correctly. They had taken an old beach cottage, a side by side duplex. Um, the one side was like meticulously just kind of like maintained. It was beautiful, just incredible. But the side that they had been short term renting already with rental history, it was gorgeous, man. I mean, it literally, they had like a built in shiplap wall with a built in fire, like gas fireplace. I mean, it was just beautifully designed. I mean,
Sounds
it
nice.
was really great. So, anywho, point being is, I would say from the interior perspective, yeah, it's definitely a super property. The land, the amount of land you have on these properties, you can't necessarily do a pool,
Yeah.
or I can't add an incredible outdoor space, but I still would do the best I could. And I think either way, it was a great deal.
I'm a big fan of these swim spas, or I think the pronunciation is gunite pools.
Hmm.
Basically, a gunite pool is, for us, everything's up on pilings. I don't know
Yeah,
how it is there for y'all. Okay, and the contractor comes in and digs out the concrete underneath the pilings, and that is your pool. They literally just pour the concrete there under, so it's covered underneath the house,
yeah.
and it works. Or I've seen some people do some really cute things with swim spas.
I'll have to look into that. I've been really playing around with in the smaller outdoor spaces. This is going to sound very, very, very uppy, but I don't know, even like the cold plunge, and
Oh yeah,
stuff like that. Yeah, where you can give them water. I mean, obviously, hot tub is going to be a huge plus. But yeah, it's just even stuff like the cold plunge or the sauna. They don't have to be huge barrel saunas. They can be, more of like that square rectangle, but just something to have where they can still utilize the space, feel like they're getting a different experience than just kind of sitting outside.
I think that's the whole thing, man. Is I think you just nailed it. Everything, right there in one word: experience. And when I talk to clients or people that are just shooting the shit with me about short-term rentals, it's like, look, you're here to sell them an experience. You're not here to sell them a place to rent at the beach. You're here to
Right.
sell them an experience. in their normal day to day life, whether they're blue collar, white collar, it does not matter. They have saved up their money for this vacation and they're coming to you to live out a fantasy. They've been daydreaming about what it is that you packaged on Airbnb or VRBO and you sold to them. And when they show up, they want that experience. That's what the sell is. It's the experience that they're wanting to exchange money for in the transaction to come stay at your place. And in their normal day to day life, they may not have a private hot tub. They may not have a barrel sauna. They may not have a few other things, you know?
No,
Um,
it's a,
Cody,
sorry, I was
what were you
just
saying?
going to say that that's a great point. And we talk about,
All right, so we had to disrupt for a second because I had a unexpected guest at the door who's been trying to send me something for 3 days in a row now, and I keep missing the UPS driver. So Cody and I were jumping into design and selling the experience, and Cody, I'm gonna let you take it from there.
no problem, man. Yeah, so all I was going to say was we were talking about experiences. And as an example, you're saying that our responsibility is to curate for the guests, right? It's to create. And so I'll give you a simple example. Something that we have in the Northeast, which really should be a crime, but it's no surprise up here. So we charge for access to our beaches, which is unlike the
No,
great
you
state of
don't.
Florida. Yes, we do. Yes, we
That's
do.
awesome.
It's a crime.
Okay. Okay. All right.
So how that plays out in real life is folks that are traveling, going to the beach, they can either pay for a daily badge or you're able to go to the municipality and purchase a seasonal badge.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now
But
this
you know
is
how you said
interesting.
you have those items locked up sometimes to talk when you talk to clients, you say, "Oh, well, in Florida, we don't have to pay for our beaches." That's
Hey, listen here. I would not buy in Jersey Shore because you have
yeah,
to buy a
yeah,
beach badge. I mean, the guests pay for stuff here in a different way. So whenever they come and stay in Gulf Shores, for example, the city levies a lodging tax against them to come stay. So on the booking, wherever whoever takes the booking, there's anywhere from a 6 to a 16% fee, depending on where they booked at.
yeah. But either way, the way I try to mitigate that is I include beach badges for the head count of my
That's awesome.
property.
Yeah.
So if a seasonal badge is, and they're expensive. I mean, they can be anywhere from, let's say, $70 to $80 per season, up to 100.
Well, that's not
And
terrible at all. Yeah,
yeah,
but still pricey.
yeah. So absolutely. But when you think you're saving your gas per person per day, like anywhere from, who knows? I mean, seriously, it could be 50 to $100, no problem. So, these folks are coming for a beach vacation, but you would be surprised the hesitation that folks have when they're renting. They're doing these short term rentals to provide that for the guests. Like if it's a head count of six, they'll get two. And I just am like, you're charging folks a good amount of money per night. Why, like, you want them to have to feel like they're not getting the value when they have to pull out their credit card, or they're like stumbling around for money, like going into the
Yeah,
beach for the day. Like,
right.
so
Yeah.
it's something even as small as that. I mean, obviously it's not a tiny expense, but it's, again, just trying to think through who's staying at your place. How can you make sure that you're giving them as much value as possible for the price you think that you want to
Hmm.
charge, and really loading your property up.
No, I think that ties into everything experience related, and I think that as we start to kind of wind this down, and then we'll do a very special unboxing since I had to interrupt
Can't
this
wait.
podcast to go to the door. Um, I want to ask you two questions. One, I want to ask you, what is one piece of advice you have for whether it's a new investor or just someone looking to come into the Jersey Shore market? What would you advise them? Something that's harsh, that's direct, that just needs to be said that maybe no one else is willing to tell them.
It came right to mind. I would say don't cut corners. So if you're really looking to take this market seriously, to buy here, to execute, buy right, buy in the right location, be willing to spend the money on the value add the amenities that matter. Your goal should be, I want to be a top 10%. earner in this market. I mean, even if you talk to Bill, right? Like Bill will say, I like screw whatever top 10% is because I want to be way above that. But at a minimum, if you're going to make this type of capital investment, if you're going to be spending your valuable time, energy, resources to do this, not an easy business. You can get a lot out of it, but it's not easy. And so I would really just say, like, come correct with what you want to do, give it 100%, don't cut corners, and try to have the best product in your area for whatever your bed bath count is.
Nailed it. Freaking nailed it. Let's put that on a postcard. Okay. What about a book? A book recommendation. And this is an ode to my all favorite Avery Carl and her podcast.
Looking at my bookshelf over there, uh, one of my favorite books of all time to this day is The One Thing by Gary
Okay.
Keller and
Okay.
Jay Popson.
Okay.
I love that book. First time I read it, I think, was 2016 or 2017. I still go back to it to this day, but it taught me a lot about leverage, blocking your time, being comfortable with saying no to people, um,
Great
and
book. It's
also
on
it
my
just
Kindle list.
and also it's just a very good productivity book overall. So yeah, I would say The One Thing. Yeah, for sure.
All right. The One Thing. Gary Keller. Got it.
Hmm.
All right, you are the man. Look, okay. Thank you so much. And before we do this very special unveiling of this package that showed up at my door, I want people, if you're comfortable giving out your phone number, do it. If you want to give out your email, how can we reach you, whether it's social media, phone, email? What's the best way for people to get a hold of you if they want to make a purchase in the Jersey Shore market?
Yeah, sure. So they can reach me by email at Cody at savvy, SAVVY dot realty. And if they want to text or call, it's 848-288-1129. More than happy to talk with anyone. You can, or if you're more comfortable, you can schedule, via my Calendly link. You can find me on the Savvy website under the team, and you can book a call, discovery call, and we can talk about whatever your goals are and, where you're interested in.
Thank you so much for being on. So let's take a look. I got a lovely little red card here, a very beautiful handwritten.
It's
I don't know
blurry.
if yeah, it's
It's
super
blurry, but I
blurry.
can I can see there's something on it. So that's good.
Yeah. So Justin, thank you for sticking with me throughout our search for an investment property. I've been wanting to purchase and manage an STR for years and wouldn't have been able to navigate this process without you. You've provided a wealth of knowledge and experience that made me feel confident enough to finally move forward. I really appreciate all the effort and support you provided. Cheers. This poor girl had a horrible time getting a condo bought. We bought in the same building, three offers on three different properties, and the appraisal kept coming in lower and lower and lower. Um, we finally, the third one was the best one, made it stick. Any of these numbers wise would have worked out for this poor girl. Um, the first one was absolutely beautiful, but they refused to come down. It was like a $20,000 gap. We finally got the third one to stick. Second one was like a $10,000 gap, but the guy wouldn't come down on property. So is what it is. So she sent me. I don't know anything about wine, but this looks incredible. It's a beautiful bottle. Camus Vineyards 2023 Cabernet from Napa Valley, dedicated to agriculture. So thank you to our client.
Yeah, no, turn it around. There's a message on the back.
Well, there sure is. Okay, from, I won't say her name out there, but thank you, Justin, for everything. This was super freaking
That's
sweet.
really sweet, man. That must feel pretty good.
That feels great. I mean, it was a journey. She told me I had to help her switch. We ended up switching lenders. She, I had my own set up a list of people I like to use. She's like, no, I really got this person off of Bigger Pockets. I really want to
Mhm.
use this person. This guy couldn't deliver. He couldn't do. He just said he could do a non-warrantable condo loan. Couldn't make it work. I got her someone local, and you know how it always is, like the last minute there's like a balancing act, missing signatures, and she was frustrated, and as she should have been. And she's like, look, you're the only reason I haven't pulled out of this. So this is what the savvy difference is, that all of us, Cody, myself, the entire team, this is the level of service we hope to deliver to you. And this is proof of that. Not all of you will gift us with lovely gifts as this, but still, anyways. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening. Cody, thank you for taking time out of your day. And until next time, y'all.